1. UFC 318 Full Card Breakdown, Poirier vs Holloway 3 Retirement Fight. 2. Paddy Pimblett's shocking UFC 318 prediction, Poirier vs Holloway. 3. Max Holloway's surprising request before UFC 318 vs Dustin Poirier. 4. Islam Makhachev predicts Poirier vs Holloway 3. UFC 318 breakdown and full fight card preview. 1. UFC 318 full card breakdown, Poirier vs Holloway 3 retirement fight. Get ready for a night of high-octane action as the UFC unveils its star-studded lineup for UFC 318, headlined by a historic third clash between two of featherweight's greatest, Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway. This isn't just another fight card, it's a retirement party, a career capstone, and a potential turning point for the division. But here's where it gets controversial: should Poirier really be ending his legendary run with a third meeting against Holloway? Let's break it down. UFC CEO Dana White has officially dropped the full 14-fight card for June 19 in New Orleans, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Poirier, who has already secured 2 wins over Holloway in their previous encounters, will look to cement his legacy with a third straight victory. For Holloway, this is a chance to reclaim his narrative and prove he can still dominate even as Poirier steps away from the octagon. But wait, does a third fight between these two truly satisfy the fans, or does it risk diluting the story they've built over the years? We'll let you decide. The co-main event brings back Paulo Costa, the former title challenger, squaring off against the heavy-hitting middleweight Roman Kopylov. Costa's return is a welcome sight for fans craving power and precision, while Kopylov's knockout prowess adds a layer of unpredictability. Meanwhile, Kevin Holland, a fighter who's been in the spotlight more than most in 2025, faces Daniel Rodriguez in a welterweight bout that promises gritty exchanges and heart-pounding moments. Daniel's rise continues as he takes on Patricio Pitbull, the former Bellator champion. Ige, known for his explosive finishes, aims to build on his recent win over Sean Woodson. Pitbull, however, is no pushover. He just dropped a close decision to Yair Rodriguez in his UFC debut. Will Ige's knockout power overwhelm Pitbull, or can the Brazilian brawler adapt and steal the show? And this is the part most people miss: Pitbull's transition from Bellator to the UFC is still in its early stages, and this fight could define his trajectory in the bigger league. The main card wraps up with a lightweight showdown between Michael Johnson and Daniel Zellhuber, a matchup that feels tailor-made for fireworks. Both fighters have shown they can end fights in dramatic fashion, so buckle up for what could be a highlight reel finish. Here's the complete breakdown of what to watch for. *** Main card ***. Main event, Dustin Poirier vs Max Holloway, a trilogy that could go down in history. Paulo Costa vs Roman Kopylov, power vs precision in the middleweight division. Kevin Holland vs Daniel Rodriguez, a test of grit at welterweight. Daniel vs Patricio Pitbull, can Pitbull bounce back from a rocky debut? Michael Johnson vs Daniel Zellhuber, a knockout waiting to happen. *** Preliminary bouts ***. Kyler Phillips vs Vinicius Oliveira. Marvin Vettori vs Brendan Allen. Francisco Prado vs Nikolay Veretennikov. Atiba Gordier vs Robert Valentin. Adam Fugit vs Islam Julatov. Jimmy Crute vs Marcin Prachnio. Ryan Spann vs Lucas Bezeski. Bruno Ferreira vs Jackson McVeigh. Kali Judici vs Eichel Cagliari. So, what do you think? Is Poirier making the right call by retiring after this fight, or should he keep chasing more titles? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's ignite a debate worth remembering. 2. Paddy Pimblett's shocking UFC 318 prediction, Poirier vs Holloway. Imagine witnessing a thrilling trilogy fight that will leave the world of mixed martial arts in awe. This is exactly what's about to happen at UFC 318, where Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway are set to face off for the third time. But here's where it gets interesting. Paddy Pimblett, a renowned figure in the MMA scene, has made a shocking prediction that's got everyone talking. Despite Poirier's dominant record against Holloway, with 2 wins under his belt, Pimblett is backing Holloway to pull off a stunning upset. So, what's behind this bold prediction? Let's dive into the details. When Poirier and Holloway first clashed at UFC 143 in February 2012, Holloway suffered a loss in his debut fight. The pair then met again in 2019, with Poirier emerging victorious once more, this time on points. Now, 13 years later, Poirier is gearing up to face Holloway in the main event at UFC 318 on July 19, which marks his final fight as a mixed martial artist. Pimblett shared his thoughts on the upcoming Trilogy fight during an appearance on the Versus podcast with Eric Nixick, saying, "I can see Holloway winning, to be honest. Don't know why. I think it's just one of them." He believes that the pressure of fighting in his hometown, combined with the expectation of winning his final fight, might just get to Poirier. On the other hand, Holloway has a chance to redeem himself and make a statement. As Pimblett pointed out, I've seen him say, "He took a lot from me. He gave me my first loss and he took away my win streak. So I'm gonna take his retirement fight." This motivation, coupled with the fact that Poirier is on the verge of retirement, could be the key to Holloway's success. It's a full-circle moment for Holloway, who will now have the opportunity to hand Poirier his final bow as a true UFC legend. The BMF title is on the line for Poirier and Holloway in the main event of UFC 318, making this fight even more significant. Following a crushing loss to Islam Makhachev last June, Poirier decided to call it quits on his title aspirations. UFC CEO and President Dana White then revealed plans for UFC 318 to take place in Louisiana, a special decision made to hold Poirier's final fight in his home state. As Poirier's career in the promotion comes to an end, he'll certainly be aiming to go out with a win, but Pimblett's prediction has sparked an interesting debate. And this is the part most people miss, the psychological aspect of the fight. Will the pressure of performing in front of his hometown crowd get to Poirier, or will he rise to the occasion? Can Holloway capitalize on Poirier's potential weaknesses and secure a win? The stage is set for an epic showdown, and we can't wait to see how it all unfolds. But here's the question, do you agree with Pimblett's prediction, or do you think Poirier will emerge victorious once again? Let us know in the comments. As we count down to UFC 318, one thing is certain, this Trilogy fight will be an unforgettable experience for MMA fans around the world. 3. Max Holloway's surprising request before UFC 318 vs Dustin Poirier. Max Holloway's bold request before UFC 318 showdown with Dustin Poirier, it's quite absurd. Max Holloway has made an unexpected appeal to the UFC as he prepares for his highly anticipated Trilogy fight against Dustin Poirier at UFC 318, scheduled for later this month. On July 19, Holloway and Poirier will face off for the third time at the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans, competing for the BMF title in the main event of UFC 318. This matchup is particularly significant as it marks Poirier's final fight in the sport, a fact that UFC President Dana White has emphasized by calling him an all-time great and centering the entire event around him. Holloway is eager to change the narrative of their previous encounters, where Poirier has emerged victorious in both bouts. In their first meeting, Poirier nearly dislocated Holloway's arm during his UFC debut, and in their second clash in 2019, he defeated Holloway to claim the interim title. As the fight approaches, Poirier has hinted at a spectacular walkout, suggesting that he will be accompanied by rap icon Lil Wayne for his final entrance into the octagon. In contrast, Holloway has made a rather unusual request to the UFC regarding his ranking. Despite having permanently moved up to the lightweight division, 155 pounds, he is still inexplicably ranked as the number one contender in the featherweight category. Holloway's last fight at featherweight was against Ilia Topuria at UFC 308, where he suffered the first knockout loss of his career. I really don't understand why I'm still ranked number one in that division. It's quite absurd. I have no intention of returning to 145 pounds, I've moved on and I feel fantastic. On those days when I push myself harder, I can recover better with proper meals and increased protein intake. It's a much more enjoyable experience than just enduring the struggle, Holloway expressed in an interview with MMA Junkie. He further elaborated, the rankings seem to be all over the place. Take the Gaethje fight, for instance, he was the number one contender when I faced him at 155 pounds, yet he was ranked around 4 or 5 at that time. I honestly expected not to see myself at number 9 when the rankings were released, that's just ridiculous. The whole ranking system is confusing. Holloway is also keen to avoid repeating the misfortune he faced in his previous trilogy against Alexander Volkanovski, where he lost all 3 encounters. While making history is exciting, I certainly don't want to be the guy who fought in 2 trilogies and ended up with an 0-3 record, Holloway concluded. 4. Islam Makhachev predicts Poirier vs Holloway 3. UFC 318 breakdown and full fight card preview. The UFC's most anticipated Trilogy showdown is about to ignite in New Orleans, and one of the sport's most decorated competitors has already thrown his weight behind a clear favorite. But here's where it gets controversial: the man calling the shots isn't even in the octagon. Islam Makhachev, the former pound-for-pound king who recently vacated his lightweight title, has made a bold prediction for Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier's third clash at UFC 318, and it's sparking debate across the MMA world. Makhachev, known for his razor-sharp instincts and unshakable confidence, recently told MMA Junkie's Mike Bone that Poirier will come out on top in the highly anticipated retirement fight. "Dustin told me this is his last dance," Makhachev explained, "and I believe he'll be ready. He's going to win, I think." The Russian standout, who respects only two fighters in his career, including Poirier, sees the Louisiana native as the more motivated combatant in this pivotal chapter. But is that enough to sway the odds? At the time of writing, Holloway holds -122 odds on FanDuel, while Poirier sits at -104, suggesting the betting public sees a closer contest than Makhachev's declaration implies. And this is the part most people miss: Holloway, a fan-favorite featherweight legend, is now playing a role he's never embraced before, being the villain. With Poirier's home crowd in New Orleans likely to rally behind him, Holloway is leaning into the narrative. "If I have to be the bad guy for 25 minutes, so be it," he told MMA Junkie. Business is business. For a fighter who spent over a decade winning over fans with his flashy footwork and humility, this shift in persona adds another layer of intrigue to their rivalry. The UFC 318 card itself is a treasure trove of high-stakes action beyond the main event. Here's what to watch for. *** Main card highlights *** Michael Johnson vs Daniel Zellhuber *** a battle of grit and experience, with Zellhuber looking to bounce back from a loss and Johnson aiming to extend his winning streak. *** vs Patricio Pitbull *** a featherweight clash that could redefine both men's careers, given Pitbull's explosive power and Ige's sharp striking. *** Kevin Holland vs Daniel Rodriguez *** years in the making, this welterweight showdown was originally set for 2022 before Holland's last-minute switch to fight Khamzat Chimaev. *** Paulo Costa vs Roman Kopylov *** a return for Costa, the former middleweight title challenger, against Kopylov, who stunned Chris Curtis with a highlight reel knockout in January. *** Preliminary and early prelim fights *** From rising stars like Kyler Phillips and Marvin Vettori to undercard action featuring Adam Fugit and Jimmy Crute, the full card promises no shortage of drama. Every fight carries weight, whether it's a veteran's redemption arc or a prospect's breakout moment. So, who do you think takes the final chapter of this trilogy? Does Holloway's hunger to prove he's still the featherweight king outweigh Poirier's emotional drive to end his career on a high note? Or will Makhachev's instincts prove spot on? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This one's bound to split the community. After all, in a fight as storied as this, every prediction is just another round of the war.